Hey, how's it going? I am going to talk and read you some cards. But first, I'm going to talk. In fact, I'm going to just read. So, hold on now. Never mind. I'll just try not to be all OCD about the cord. Okay. The future and the now. Sandcastles and Inception-like sinkholes. The sandcastles remind me of childhood and the fun creating the shapes that we could assign any story or location to. The odd shapes that didn't resemble any real structure, that were dwellings for the briefest of reigns over grainy kingdoms. We, or I at least, thought nothing of the rapidity of the approach of destruction. No loss was really felt because you could quick dream up another again and populate it with a new story and background before the next wave and new beginning. In personal reads I get for myself, pulled by someone else, I get over and over messages of new beginnings. The sandcastles, a nest of robin's eggs. And change has been a common theme of my own. This suggests to me that its constant change is, it's a constant. Images that are appearing in such rapid succession that it's like a motion picture to our perception. Like things having been gaining speed. Time gaining speed. Have you felt it? So the movie itself is like see it, clock it, and then start absorbing the next set. And my goodness, what a time to be alive. I mean, if we don't take what's going on personally, it's like being on one of those amusement park rides where you sit in a little car, or you get into a little car for one or two, and try that again. It's like one of those amusement park rides where you get in a little car for one or two on a track through props and exhibits and projections and a cacophony of music, narration, and jump scare blares of sound to make you jump out of your skin. But the next thing is already underway and you're forced to place your attention there. It's literally a roller coaster ride. Not one that flings us too hard like G-forces, but that moves us emotionally, which can take a bit longer to recover from because a physical shock wears off fast. It wears off faster. Because the next one is on the way. Whatever the twists and turns, once the little car reaches the end of the ride, it bursts through the doors into the light. And whew, that's over. So it's a ride for one and all with thrills and chills. And the darkness always brings shock and fear to an abrupt end when the light hits. I could have done that better. We can then pull ourselves together and move on to the next fun attraction. To be clear, I'm feeling less and less worried about the future because looking at things that we begin to see in a new light, looking at things in a new way, that gives us the comfort and confidence to bravely move on. From things being scary to being as scary as a funhouse ride. We know both thrill us and then end. So I feel like sandcastles is something that I did at the ocean, at the beach, like sitting on the edge of the water, because you got to be in the right place to get the right consistency, because you want to dribble your creations. That's a technical term. But you want to dribble your creations, and if it's too watery, then it's not going to stand up, and if it's too sandy, it won't like look right, and you just got to find that right spot. There used to be a toy, I guess, called Silly Sand, and you could basically do that at home. And I don't know, I didn't have it. I never had it. Couldn't get that one. Couldn't get my mom to get me that one. I guess you just, yeah, I guess it would have been dirty or messy or something. But anyway, the home one had colors, and I always wanted it and never got to have it. So whenever we would go to the beach, that's what I would do for like a great portion of the day, is build wet sand castles and then dry ones, and also get in the water. But happy times, you know. And it's like I said, you do this thing, and I remember feeling like it was very elaborate, but in retrospect, the waves do come in like pretty quickly and like just wreck it. And so I don't know, I don't remember being able to do anything too elaborate, but I just remember it being like a much bigger thing in my mind, like, you know, more fantastic or more fantasy, whatever. Pardon. So, and then like also the amusement park part. I mean, certainly adults enjoy those, but the ride I was describing, I mean, technically it's a roller coaster, but we do think of the ones with like hills and drops and loops and stuff to, I mean, it's worse than a jump scare. That almost literally makes things that come out of your skin, you know? So, but you sit in a car on a track on those too. So, you know, it's a roller coaster. But the one I was talking about is pretty much totally a kid's ride thing. So, that's where my head is at. But I was thinking about just like the whole political situation here in the U.S., and then like by extension in Israel, and then wherever else our military is. I look at probably more military stuff than I should. That is probably good for my stomach or my mind, but I do like to make those connections and kind of understand what's happening around the world that's going to affect not just here, but just wherever it's going to have an effect that's noteworthy, and usually not a great way, but that could change. It doesn't always have to be, you know, bad news. So, but there's a lot of fear about what's coming. Like, today's the 4th of December, and the election here that Donald Trump won, I didn't vote for him. I'm not a fan. Just want to say. But it's not official. He's not like physically in office until the 20th of January. And so, I mean, I guess we're all lame ducks that didn't vote for him now. We're lame ducks for the other side. And I and a lot of people were like, including them, the Trump team side also seemed as shocked and surprised that he won as everyone else. But that happened last time, so hard to gauge. What exactly does that even mean? What am I looking at? Sorry, my other phone is... Oh, okay. I will get to you. Anyway, yeah, it's just like there's so many precarious situations around the world, and they could involve my country, the United States, or countries we affect, countries that we're next to. I mean, there's so many. Take your pick. There's a lot of things that are like hot bullet points, hot issues right now. So, and then there's like the pervert stuff that, you know, Diddy is being investigated and whatever jailed for right now. I'm sure more is going to happen with that. But the reason why he's in there and the stuff that he was doing that's being uncovered is getting a lot of people to think about Jeffrey Epstein, because it sounds awful darn similar, because it is. It's different lane of the same thing. And not that I have any personal experience, with any of that type of thing, except that I've been hearing about it for years. I grew up in Hollywood, so haha, surprise, surprise. That goes on there too. Have you heard? Didn't Hollywood officially did not molest me, but when I was in Hollywood, you could say that sort of thing happened. It wasn't just in Hollywood, but anyway, don't want to get down that sidetrack. Yuck. Anyway, that element is just in the world, and I feel like I can't be very shocked by it, because people will either be using this as a justification or as something to be just as a model for completely unacceptable. But slavery is all over the Bible, and it was here in Earth history not too long ago. I don't remember it in my lifetime, like black slavery of America, but I know the human trafficking kind has existed for centuries. Just come on, put some 2 and 2s together. And why can't it be eradicated? Because people don't want it eradicated. Enough of the people probably that use it and profit from it don't want it to be eradicated for those reasons. So that is the world we live in, and it kind of always has been. We call it capitalism now, and it's gone through phases of being really in operating order, functioning as it's supposed to. Not necessarily, I hesitate to say well or in a good way, because when it does work really well on one end of it, because it's kind of polarizing or polarific, I don't know how to call it. It's got a couple of ends. But one end does really good, and for that end to do really well, the other end has to do kind of crappy, not so well. That is a flaw, in my opinion. But even that seems to be, well, here's the thing. I feel like institutions, it's not just a feeling. Other people feel it and see it and are talking about it, are just under the pressure of, I don't know, their edge of obsolescence. Their edge of being obsolete. Because things go out of fashion, things age out, style goes out, however you want to call it. Youth dies, you age, so everything is on that kind of cycle. So it's just, let me sidetrack again for a second. Sorry about that. There's a moth here that's sitting on my refrigerator. And I think it's sleeping. Earlier it had its wings out, and it was really cool, but now it closed them down, so I'm not gonna show it. Anyway, yeah, institutions crumbling. I feel like I'm hearing capitalism is it's what is the word what is the phrase? It's hung itself by its own petard, its own arrogance, and the care has gone out. It's like a drug. And I always say about substance addiction is, I'm particularly referring to hard drugs like cocaine or heroin. Actually, heroin, that's the one I'm thinking of, because I guess that's the one where I see it the most acutely, but man, it doesn't take long. Once your body starts to like that stuff, the care starts seeping out. You add in more drugs, more care seeps out. And I feel like capitalism started one way and was a useful tool, and then like people got their ick all over it and their greed and things and their appetites, and it just has become gross and yucky. I don't know what to say else. But it also, because of that stuff, because of not being the utility it was intended to be, I think, in the first place, it's just mutated and soured and just is bad. It's gone bad. And I think it started out kind of bad too with the two ends thing. So balance is what we need. Okay, so I do have some cards. Oh, the inception holes. I didn't really talk about that. What it had to do, like the image of the sandcastles like being built and then washed away and over. It reminded me of Inception, and there's parts of Inception where the walls, you know, of reality are like folding down in on themselves, and they seem to be going down the sinkhole. So here was the other sidetrack that I stepped away from early on. It was like I seen something earlier today about the donut-shaped universe, which it would be a toroid in, like, I guess, technical terms. And everything that has a frequency or emits energy or is a source of energy, and I mean like people or objects or animals, machines, that makes an energy. So like anything that has a frequency is creating an energy, and it has its own engine, and that is in the shape of a toroid. So I mean, I think the way it works is we're kind of in the middle of the donut, and the energy is flowing like up through us and down around us and back up through us again, and it makes a circle. But the thing that I was thinking about it was that, like I just said, everything is in cycles in our existence, and then the toroid universe makes sense because a cycle is something that starts in a place and then goes back around and ends up back in the place it started, which that always seems like a circular thing to me. I've never thought of it as like a square or a trapezoid, you know? It just, circle just comes natural. So, with the Inception concept and the castles just repeating over and over like history, and if you've ever seen an animation of history, you'll see like civilizations go from like the dirt up and then crumble and then go up and down, and you know, like that kind of thing, and cycles. But all of those histories and repeated realities, timelines, just arise, do their thing, cycle down the Inception hole toroid thing, and then are recycled. Okay. I have a Kawaii Cat card, Oracle card, and the one I pulled was the Hermit, which I didn't think this was gonna be the one that was gonna get pulled, and it was the Death card kept coming up, you know, which was fine, but I just kept seeing it in particular, but it moved a little bit, but it didn't like pop out or anything, and these are actually kind of stiff, so and I was just whatever. But this one, like, I wasn't even looking, I was just sort of idly shuffling, and it just was all poking me in the palm, and I looked down there, like it went, like it got out of the shuffling and got between my fingers, and I was like, okay, I'll take it. But it's the Hermit card, and it has the staff there, which you associate. Well, it's in the tarot. It's a wizard, I think, or a sage or something. But the person that like knows the arcane information and is often off to themselves, meditating, thinking occult thoughts or whatever. But always seeking, like they have the light, and so part of that meditation process and the seeking is the astral travel and things like that. And so coming into contact with entities from other realities or dimensions. And how does that... It in some way has to do with what I was just talking about. I know that, like, I was an only child. I have siblings, but I didn't live with them. So, you spend a lot of time in your head imagining things. Or I did. I mean, I don't know. If you don't do that, what the heck are you doing? Anyway, it's not... When I see the hermit, I automatically think somebody that's like off away from everyone else. But in this case, I'm thinking it's a state of mind. And this cutesy little card with I love kitties. I mean, I like animals all over the board, but I really have a special fondness for cats. And this is a very cute one. And they are some of the cutest things you've ever seen when they're babies, and even also when they're larger. Anyway, enough of my cat love. But also, that is a playful animal. It's all... I'm getting all of this about, like, you know, come on, like, play. Be childlike about this, because it is like our lives are like that ride or that movie that is just a collection of moments from our life. Well, not just like it's meaningless, but I heard Quentin Tarantino say one time that a film is not like a one fluid thing that happens. It's, well, if you've ever seen film, there are frames, individual frames, and just like stop motion or like animation, if you've ever done it with like a pad of paper, where you change one little tiny thing at a time, and then as you go through each change on each page, it looks like it's a continuous motion thing, but it's really a set of still images. And when he said that, it was like, I feel like life is that way too, because whatever like movement and feel and everything else sensory going on in it for you in the moment, it's almost like our lives here are matrix, you know, or whatever kind of mock-up you want to call the reality. It's representing a lot of different things for everyone, and it's a mesh of everyone working together to make the things happen for each other, basically. It's like a very cooperative situation, even though we may be unaware of it consciously. It doesn't even have to be all like supernatural. It's just like the integration of these people do this job and that person does that job, and because these people each need the thing that that other person can do, and that goes for like every service industry we have, and then the people that work there, and that, like, if it's a hospital, that, well, the doctors got to go through a lot to learn how to be the people that work there, and that we support as a society to some degree their ability to do that. You know, like, we want doctors. So we make conditions favorable for doctors to become those, and firemen to be those, or fire putter-outers, I guess. I don't want to use a gender. Not that I have a problem with that. I'm not one of them people. Oh my God. I don't know. I have other cards. So, but, okay, so I feel like that's what it's saying is when the outside world is kind of harsh and crazy, go to the inner child inside. You don't have to like go take a pilgrimage anywhere. You should be able to like compartmentalize reality and think about something else like this, like retreat to your inner world, to your little kid happy place, and experience the harsh things that way. I mean, if you can't laugh, you're crying kind of situation. And God, it's terrible when kids cry. Don't you hate that? Okay, so I pulled 2 other cards from the Sacred Soul Messages deck. And, I guess I pulled a few. So the first one I got was, it says, love is the bridge between you and everything. Connection, oneness, finding your way forward. So that, I feel like, has to do with the rift kind of in society. It kind of doesn't matter where you are, and the rift is between like a masculine element that's like overly masculine and trying to control everything to a degree where the people that they want to be controlling are not appreciative of it. Like, get off me, get away, like you're oppressive. And like, hi, I'm a full-grown adult person. Can I make my own decisions without all of your interference and judges? Interference and judgment. I don't know, I'll take it either way you want. Have fun with it. But, yeah, when you're a child, it's a lot easier to be lovey-dovey than it is when you're an adult. So, in order to be the bridge between you and everything, you have to be receptive of the other end, regardless of how they may be. It is there, is it not? Like, if it's there, you can kind of ignore it if you want, but if it does things, whatever the it is that affects you, then you can't really keep ignoring it. You have to accept that it is a part of your world. So I'm not saying you have to be all happy about it, but I mean, you can concede the fact that it exists, and after that, however you're going to relate to it or the situation that it is, that's on you. I don't know what's going on with you and it, but it's not something that can't be worked out. And, kids retreat inside when they're fearful, but you also, it doesn't necessarily mean, like, if you are retreating as a child for something that's scaring you on the outside, you don't go on the inside and make more scary. You go in there and look for, like, the things that make you happy, the things that are fun. And, it's, I guess we can't just do it instantly. I know that I can't. I keep trying to do things and just instantly that I want to change about myself. But what I find is I'll get one thing done and I feel all good about it. And I'm like, okay, I got that conquered. And I'll find that, oh no, you conquered nothing. You have a lifetime of layers to get through before you even get to the real reason why there's something to conquer down there. It's like, oh my. So you go and you do a little, and then you retreat, and you make yourself feel better. You make yourself laugh. You make yourself happy. You get off whatever icky feelings you picked up that are working against your effort to connect with the rest of your world. So, yeah, connection, oneness, finding your way forward. Sometimes you got to get over some stuff to move forward. Okay, so I have another one, and it is this guy. Open your hands if you want to be held. Reach out. Welcome love. Let yourself receive. There are some of us that really need to hear that. Some of the element that's like overly macho and overly like forceful, and boy, it sure is a, give a fly honey before vinegar if you want them to come to you. And flies can bite too. They can certainly be a pest. But okay, so I was gonna talk about how like the incel thing, I feel like got even more intense recently. They felt empowered to be that way, and it's like, well, okay, but that is not going to really give you what you want, unless what you want is to continue feeling awful and alone and unwanted and frustrated and angry. All of those things, not attractive. Alone can be amazingly attractive if you're okay with it. If you have the confidence to be alone and it doesn't like break you down. And it's not like it's a personal thing, it's a societal thing. It's like there are expectations upon us. Hold on. And I feel like whatever we do or don't want, it's hard either way, because gotta stay within the conformity of the expectations, and maybe that's just not what you want. What's that? And that's when, reception works really well when there's two ends. The giving also has to be there. Let me just say that from a female point of view, you're more likely to get the attention you want from that female if you don't like take what you want from me, or make it that dynamic, because they're not gonna like you. They're not gonna feel good about you. Whatever you get's gonna be false, and you'll know it on a level, so why do it? Again, it's like at some point you can't keep saying, oh, my relationships always go bad, and this one did that and that one did that. It's like, yeah, but you were there too. What was your role? And you gotta stop ignoring that part, and because that's you out of balance. And then you can't, like, taking is not, I feel like that's something in the fear column of like anger and resentment. And so yeah, if you're like okay with being alone, that's a plus. You may not feel it, but from the outside, people are looking at you like, I can't be alone. Like, I gotta have somebody, like, you can imagine. I don't think I need to come up with any more variations on that, because I think it's a pretty basic sort of drive for us to either partner up or don't. So that's, that is what people like. They don't, I'm sorry, I can't speak for people. I can speak for this female person. I don't want to, the caveman. No, thank you. Not the angry caveman. But that's just me. Or maybe it's not, because there is like a whole incel culture, so maybe it's not just me. Okay, so reach out, welcome love, let yourself receive. And by the way, that goes for non-romantic type relationships too, because anvil on the head, here's red and blue. Like, red and blue in this country politically, red has problems with itself. Blue refuses to even consider the notion that there are problems. Can I just pause it real quick? Like, if you kind of dump on the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, maybe you don't need us. And like, I'm not even a Democrat anymore, but I like the progressive ideals. Maybe you don't need us. You know, good luck on your own. Because progressive policies were hella popular, and you just strangled them. Like, you just not want to change that status quo. So that's not very receptive. That's kind of, you know, like, I don't want to change. You don't know what you're talking about. I don't want to mess up my income flow doing stuff your way. And it's like, really? That's not very doing things for the people. That's more like doing things for me. And we don't really like that. In case you hadn't noticed, the prevailing feeling is getting bigger about that. Well, we don't really like that. You may find yourselves on your own. So, just saying. Last one I pulled is this here beautiful card. And it says, the world is a mountain that echoes your words. Reflection. Seeing affects. What you do matters. So true. So how are you gonna, you know, what kind of world do you want to live in? I know what one I want to live in. I want to live in one with little or no fighting and warring, you know, as little as possible. I would like to see that everyone. Actually, before that, I would like to see get rid of the whole monetary system, and just come up with a system of resources to everyone that needs them everywhere. Like, make that the main consideration, and the profit can be the fulfillment of the job. Like, whatever it takes to build those things that need. Whatever tools are needed to support that situation, where like the profit needs to come more out of like the completion of the act rather than the completion of the sale. I don't like ads. I know it's somebody's job, but man, you can't even watch stuff in peace. It's just like, oh, and I know it's there to like make you like rattled and angry and crazy, because that works for the side that's in charge, that wants everything to be all forceful and angry and bleh. So the thing about that is actions have consequences. And so I'm not the best at this, but I think this is saying, you're on a mountain. You have the opportunity, before you jump and do anything rash or hasty, reflect. Like, maybe you're up there thinking, there's somebody down there that I want to go do something to, that did something to me, and basically exact revenge. But maybe on the way down from the mountain, you can reflect upon that and realize that maybe that's not the way to go. Like, maybe the thing they did to you feels really bad, and maybe you don't want to be a person on the other end of doing it to somebody else. Like, you could just think things through. If you're coming down a mountain, you have a little bit of time. You have some time to think things through. And just know that, like, yeah, like, you don't want to do to someone else what's been done to you that felt terrible. That, I mean, I think that's kind of what this is saying. Seeing affects what you do matters, and it does. And so again, in the face of all this stuff changing and falling apart, like, which is also creating fear and anger, and adding that to the whole, like, wow, like, it sounds, I was gonna say the pot of stew, but it sounds more like a bucket of mop water. But there's the redeeming quality of limpio. Everything's getting cleaned up. Hey, you know, that may well be what's needed in many of these cases, because the things that are making things fall apart are like rot and fraud and inauthenticity and dishonesty, and That's when you get to clean stuff up, when it breaks down and falls apart. But then you got to see like the rot and dishonesty and disgusting that like kind of grew in there. But sunlight, break it open and expose it to light, and don't be afraid of it. It really, I mean, go to the amusement park, go to the beach and play with some sandcastles for a few minutes if it gets too heavy. But just remember, like, yeah, man, you're in a movie. This is a movie. Like, if it gets too heavy, have an intermission. Go play. Do what you got to do for. It shouldn't take long. Like, the more you do, like, the meditational sort of self-rescue, you get more skilled at it, and it doesn't take as long after repetition and repetition. You just learn how to do it. Well, you don't just learn how to do it. I just said it takes repetition. Eventually, you learn how to do it. But I mean, you can like at least be hopeful and keep upbeat in the knowing that after you do it enough times, it'll become easy. I think I have said enough. Thank you and good night.